All right, so most of y'all have seen us at least once today, so you know we're Draffin and Tucker. My name is Taylor Phillips. This is Jeff Wright. I know that we've given an overview, but we're not in AIS, so yeah, we're good then.
So I'm Jeff Wright, managing partner with our firm. I started 32 years ago. I've spent my entire career there. Taylor, senior with our firm, started about 3 years ago. We'll talk a little bit more about some of what we do, but we'll speak from our perspective. So we're a regional public accounting firm, regional in that we have more than one office. We're headquartered in Albany, Georgia, with a second office in Atlanta. When we prepared this, said we had 95 employees. We're at about 99 now. But offices in Albany and Atlanta. For those of you familiar with Albany, we're near the corner of Westover and Gillianville, kind of across from Darton or Albany State West now. In Atlanta, we're in the Queen Building. We have a portion of the 12th floor there, which is in the Sandy Springs area. We've been in business for over 70 years. Actually, just earlier this week, we announced that this is our 75th year celebration, so we need to update that slide. But I've been doing this for 75 years. That means we are coming up on our 4th generation as a business. The American Institute has some data on how many CPA firms progressed that far. Don't remember who heard this before, but if you haven't heard it, the AICPA tells us a percentage of firms that do not make it past their 1st generation. And in other words, somebody starts the firm, maybe they bring in a partner, but they never go on and bring people in, invest in them, retain that talent, develop them, make them future leaders, and hand the firm off to them. So what percentage of firms, according to the American Institute of CPAs, never make it past their 1st generation? $25%. Anything, another guess?
65.
65. Getting closer. 70. Getting closer.
80.
85%. 85% of firms never make it past the 1st generation. We are fortunate that we're coming up on our 4th. Taylor and I weren't there when we started that and laid that foundation, but we're certainly beneficiaries of it and or products of it. And it's our responsibility to carry that on and hand it to the next generation. So we are always looking for good people and always talking about the opportunities that are available in our firm or in accounting as well, and that's some of what we want to do today. Our firm has a concentration in healthcare, so work with a lot of community hospitals, a lot of health systems, a lot of clinics, home health agencies, nursing homes, etc. We're a full-service accounting firm, so we do audit work, we do tax work, we do consulting work, but all of that is, or 80% of that is in the healthcare industry.
So, this is for y'all. When you meet somebody, I mean, you're further into the program now, so you have a better idea. But still, what do you think whenever you hear somebody say, "I'm an accountant"? Whether that's personality or job or anything like that, what do you think of about that person when you hear that?
Very detail oriented.
Okay.
Organized, math. Those are the things that come to mind with me.
Detail, organized, math. Okay. Anything else? Anything? There's one that I always look. Yeah, that was the one.
You say taxes.
Yeah, that was the one. That's the first thing. I mean, I was the same way too. Before I got into any of the classes, I just assumed that you did taxes with a small, or not small, with those big calculators with the paper, and you wore a green hat thingy, which that's not my generation, but I don't know why I know that image of a green hat, and just crazy hours, and you only work until April. So that was always mine. Anybody else kind of similar to that? You just kind of had that thought or idea? So, I like to kind of go through the different stereotypes of an accountant or what the accounting industry is as a whole, and just kind of just show you ways that they're not true. So the first one is, like I said, they used to deal exclusively with taxes. So I said this in class earlier, I've touched one tax return, and it took me so long they did not ask me to do another one. Pretty sure they lost money on that. I don't do my own tax. to be honest, I use TurboTax even for myself because it's nothing complicated. I could use the firm software, but I just use TurboTax. But I do not touch a tax return, period. I do audits, and we have another thing that's exclusively to healthcare and hospitals. They're called cost reports, but that's a separate thing. So no, you don't only do taxes. We also have consulting work that we do. We also have what we call resource solutions, which is kind of like an umbrella of a bunch of different things that we do. So that's not all that you're going to do. Second is that you need to be a math genius. Math is something you have mentioned. So yes, you need to know the basics of math, but like pre-calculus, no, you don't need to know. You need to know it to get through the class in college, but you don't need to know those kind of things. You need to just be able to like problem solve, know how to make a percentage, know add, subtract, divide, multiply, that kind of thing. Everything else we're thrown into Excel. So you don't need to know that kind of stuff. We don't care about imaginary numbers. The third one is that the job's boring. I don't find the job boring. I mean, I get to do this as part of my job, so, you know, sprinkle in a little bit of this kind of stuff, and that's not boring at all to me. But, of course, not everybody does that. However, you're not sitting at a desk all day, every day, which is kind of the other notion, is that you're going to be behind your desk, just tapping away at your Excel. You're typically up and about, going and asking people questions, kind of checking in with your managers, your in charges. You're working in a team in one room maybe. Typically and again I'm going to speak from the experience of audit, our audit teams work together in groups of maybe anywhere from between 3 to 5 people. We have one team that sits in our training room probably 60% of the year, so that they're all together and can bounce ideas off each other and things like that. So and also you're traveling to a client site, so you're not always just going to sit there from 8 to 5 behind a desk. The next one is that you need to be an introvert. I think what I've seen in my own experience and also coming across new staff is that it might be a little bit more helpful to be a little more extroverted so that you can get to know your team, so that you can get to know your clients, get to know your partners, and just get to know your other coworkers, because you're going to lean on your coworkers for help on things when they're more experienced than you. So maybe you're in charge, or maybe your manager isn't there for the day, but you need help with something. So I think it helps to kind of come out of your shell a little bit. The next one is that there's no room for advancement. This one and the technology would take our jobs. Those two are two that my dad kind of told me when I changed my major. He said for the technology, he said, you know, we'll be able to do everything tax-wise, because again, he only thinks of taxes. But he said, you know, we can only H&R Block or TurboTax or whatever else is going to take your job. Like, you don't have anywhere to go in this. But actually, as far as public accounting is concerned, there's a lot of room for advancement. There's this huge ladder that you can climb all the way up to partner. And again, there's industry accounting and there's public accounting, there's private accounting, and there's a difference between the two, which we'll get into. But there's a little bit more room for advancement in public than in private, but we'll go there. Next is that it's a male-dominated field. I think it might lean more 60-40 for women. I know all my classes were a little bit more female-heavy than male, and then I think we have a good balance in our offices as well, but it's definitely not male-dominated where you feel like you're one of the only ladies. And then the last item, and I only added that because whenever I was researching common myths, that was one of them, so maybe that was like an old myth or something. And then the last one is that the job is purely technical and that you don't need to be creative. So meaning all you're going to do is put into a computer. You're only doing spreadsheets. You're only filling out forms, things like that. But there's a lot of critical thinking and problem solving that's involved in this career. Every single day you're solving a problem, because nothing's ever going to be the exact same. So you always have to find a new way around something, whether that's you working with your in charge or manager, or that's you working with the client to figure out a solution to something. So any questions, comments?
So if this is what an accountant is not, what makes a good accountant?
Being an extrovert, I mean, anything opposite of everything on the.
Being an extrovert?
Right.
So working with people?
Right.
What else? Being creative? Critical thinking, maybe?
Flexibility.
Flexibility? Here, anything here? Advancement? Drive? Desire to succeed?
Trying. Would be
Trying?
Just giving something a thought.
So we put together a little list. This list could go on 4 pages, I tell you. But communication skills are important. Talked about, extrovert, interacting with other people. People ask me, how do you work with numbers all day? Well, I don't. I work with people. So numbers are a piece of it, but I work with people way more than I work with numbers. Multitasking, we could debate, is multitasking a real thing? Could you do, can you really do more than one thing at once and all that? But I think the point being here is there's a lot going on. And as individuals progress through public accounting in particular, they're running multiple projects. They may have multiple people reporting to them. So need to be organized. I think I heard that somewhere a while ago. Need to be organized, need to be focused, need to have the interest of others at heart, and just lots of things there. Leadership, we could do a whole hour on leadership. But just incredibly important. And, leadership is simply the influence of somebody else. That's all it is. There's good leaders, there's bad leaders. But if you're influencing somebody else, you're a leader. If you're being influenced by somebody else, they're a leader. And so what comes along with that? Obviously, accounting, the public accounting is founded on integrity. It's in our core standards as auditing standards. It's in our core values as our firm. I will tell you never, ever, ever compromise your integrity. You're going to have the opportunity to. You probably already had the opportunity to, but do not. Nobody can take it from you, but you can give it away. And just encourage you, commit to not doing that. Have an initiative I talked about earlier, just that drive, just being that willingness to succeed. Being professional, again, a whole another hour there. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But just continuously improving. I say at our firm, we're not perfect. I'd like to think we are. I'd like to tell you we are. But our drive is to be better tomorrow than we were yesterday. We're just going to continually improve and continue to move towards success for everybody. Any questions? We can talk about something else if you want to talk about something.
Or intermediate.
We'll talk about accounting if you want to do that.
So I just put a list of the most common types of jobs in accounting. Now, again, there's 2 different kind of routes you can take. You can go public or you can go private. So public is what we do, obviously certified public accountants. So that means that we have multiple clients in multiple industries. But a private accountant is one that works for one company and does kind of the same tasks, not daily, but monthly. I think of somebody like a payroll clerk or something like that for a bank or even for one of our hospitals. That might be like a private accountant. But just for example, so we have our CPA, of course, our forensic accountant. That's one that a lot of people don't really know about sometimes unless they're in one of the really big schools. But that's a certificate that you can get. You can get certified fraud examiner, and you can do forensic accounting. I know at least one of our partners has his CFE, and I've done a small fraud project for him before, where we thought there might be some theft, so we just go in and look at some accounts or whatever. But that's one type of accountant. So then you have an auditor like us now that can be healthcare auditor, governmental auditor, whatever. You have a government accountant, so maybe you work for the city. A project accountant would be maybe one that works for a construction company. Tax accountant, you do taxes. And then the corporate accountant and the CFO are 2 that I think of when I think of private accounting. So your corporate accountant would maybe be your entry-level job at a bank as an accountant, not like a clerk or whatever, but usually there's only one. Usually there's a corporate accountant, the controller, and then the CFO, and that's kind of like the three kind of levels in a private industry. Questions about any of these? Any of these look kind of interesting, or any that you didn't know were a thing, I guess, as well?
What does project accounting really do? Do you account on certain projects, housing developments, or what?
So typically a common example would be in a construction company, where they're doing maybe cost accounting on a project. So we're building a new building, and we're costing that out, and we're focused on that specific project, as opposed to keeping an entire set of books.
Schools have managerial accounting, that's what that class kind of covers, that kind of stuff.
Now, the accounting clerk, is that the lowest, title for an accountant? Is that where you kind of start out at?
That'd probably be the most entry level. Sometimes
Okay.
that doesn't even require like a degree or something like
Okay.
that.
And then the
Yeah.
next one is accountant, then controller?
Yes, some people may call this one staff accountant,
Okay.
Yeah.
associate accountant, but this here would be industry. So
Gotcha.
accounting clerk, maybe they're focused on accounts payable or
Okay.
payroll,
Gotcha.
something like that. Accountant is going more to the broader set of
Okay.
books. The controller's overseeing that, and then
Mhm.
CFO is overseeing all of that, and with some responsibilities for strategy.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Those are just common titles. I just thought it was a pretty picture.
So we've talked about what's an accountant, what's not an accountant. We've talked about leadership. What's a professional? What comes to mind when you hear the word professional? Someone who does their job in the right way. Good answer. What else?
Educated in the topic.
Educated. What else? The way they carry themselves, hold themselves to a higher standard. Good.
Morals and ethics.
Seasoned, like someone that's been doing it for a long time.
Seasoned, got some wisdom maybe. Been doing it for a while. Good. Anything else?
Treats everybody with respect.
Treats people with respect. Absolutely. So there's some thought out there that a professional is one who has certain educational requirements, certain licensing requirements, certain continuing education requirements. So some people may say, well, that's a physician, that's an attorney, that's an engineer, an architect, an accountant. So all of that, all y'all said, all I said, who comes to mind when we say a professional? Who can be a professional? Everybody. Really? That's really broad now. Can everybody be a professional?
No. They can be.
Don't give up, don't give up.
Potential. Potential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't let me talk you out of it. Absolutely, everybody can be a professional.
But maybe not everybody can be a doctor.
Maybe not everybody can be a doctor.
Brain surgeon, but-
So I'm going to say that professionalism goes a little further than architect, engineers, accountants. Might be nice to keep it at that, but the reality is it goes beyond that. So a county clerk could be a professional, CFO could be a professional, Little League coach could be a professional, maybe a student could be a professional. Did I go too far? No? Okay. I agree. Anybody can be a professional. Some of the characteristics, we just listed a few here. Again, the list can be long. Appearance, you know, we used to have kind of presentation, how an individual presents themselves. Appearance, we used to think, you know, suit and tie, and look at some of these individuals on the wall here in the past, and I know these folks have a great deal of respect for them. If you just look, you see the change in attire, even over the years. But how does one present now? Yes, that's appearance. Yes, that's phone etiquette, that's email etiquette. I mean, there's lots of ways in how we present ourselves today, but being professional in those. Demeanor, you know, I would put that under how we treat other people. Are we treating each other with respect? Do we have that respect for each other? Are we reliable? Are we dependable? If we say we're going to do something, do we do it? Integrity, already talked about that. Competency, somebody said education, we're skilled in what we do. This could go on and on. So a few months ago, I was in a group, kind of a roundtable with other managing partners, and they were asking, and it was a question, there was a live poll with our phones kind of thing, what are you looking for in accountants going forward in the future? And these are the things that came up. These things here and those things on that leadership slide. So integrity, reliability, engagement, critical thinking. On that list, didn't have a really hope they know how to do debits and credits. Maybe that's kind of accepted if you're coming out of school with an accounting degree. But I would suggest to you some of these things, some of those things on that leadership, things like those are what will set you apart in the industry. And really, in anything you go do, they will what will set you apart in this classroom. But you know, I encourage you to commit to being a leader, know that you have influence over other people, and commit to being the leader that is worthy of being followed and having that influence.
And as far as like debits and credits, like Jeff mentioned, we do want you to come in knowing your accounting basics, of course, but these are the things that you can't be taught on the job. Maybe phone etiquette, we can teach you that, you know, email etiquette, things like that, but reliability, we can't teach you to be that. That's just who you are as a person. So when we say, you know, this is kind of what makes a good accountant, professionalism is what makes a good accountant. We understand you're going to come in having all this school behind you but no experience, so it's not really going to translate. So we're here, you know, when you come in to teach you how to do the work papers, how to figure out the concepts, things like that, but you know, we can't teach you how to have integrity, things like that. So just having that within you is important.
I have a question. Jeff, you came to talk to accounting students at GSW 5 or more years ago.
100 years ago.
At that time, I think we were talking about professionalism, but you're a leader in the community. You're respected in the community, but yet you have times when you're going out to the ball field or to watch your kids play band or going out to eat at a restaurant. How do you conduct yourself in public everywhere to attract clients or to gain their respect or to act like a professional?
Hopefully the same way. I would say professionalism, it's not a title. I would say it's a way of life. In the community that we're in Albany, and certainly in neighboring community, even our Atlanta office, people know I work at Draffin and Tucker. People know Taylor works at Draffin and Tucker. So, you know, how you conduct yourself, people are watching. And when you're in, you know, public accounting and you're talking about integrity, I mean, we could put trustworthy up here. We could put lots of things up there. We could put holding ourselves to a higher standard. Was that somewhere in the middle here? You know, people are always watching. It is a really small world. Ignore the phones and the videos and all that kind of stuff, but you know, at the ball field, at the grocery store, just how you treat other people. People are watching that. And so I would say professionalism is not part of your 8-to-5 job. Professionalism is a way of life.
But don't hear that as saying you can't have fun and have
No.
have a life. Yeah.
I don't think any of this prevents you from, I hope.
Yeah. No, I was saying, yeah, don't
No, I
let that
agree.
thing, because you can still, I mean, us as a firm, we do go have fun. Groups of us will all go together to go do trivia night or do whatever together. So that doesn't mean that your whole life is your job. So, good question. We kind of blew through kind of fast. I wanted to pull up, there's only 2 slides left in this, but there was one slide I wanted to pull up from the other presentation, if you'll just give me one quick second.
Questions, comments from y'all while she's doing that? Anything?
So I'm a junior right now, and like I'm thinking about internships. I guess it would look good on my resume for getting a job out of college. How important is experience to you guys? Just like strive for it, but is it needed for a job at Draffin?
No. So everybody has to start. Everybody has a starting point. Some people do that with an internship, some people do that with full-time. There are benefits to internship. You can try an employer out, you can try a town out, you can try a firm out and learn about their culture. So there's benefits to you as the intern. There's benefits to the employer. You know, maybe we're seeing that if somebody's a match for us. But our approach is that we believe that everybody that comes to Draffin and Tucker, our approach is they will retire from our firm. So whether they start as an intern, whether they start as a full-time person, when you expand that over someone's career, an internship may be good, but it's not required. That makes sense? So, I tell people, if you have a reason to intern, you want to intern, I understand there's credit hours associated with it. I understand you might just want to try something out, try a town out, try a firm out. Do you like audit? Do you like tax? Maybe you get some of that experience. There can be good reasons, absolutely good reasons for interning. I also run into some people that the class schedule didn't work out or something, and they didn't get a class, and now they need to stay and they can't intern, and they're just having a meltdown. And you don't have to intern. There is still opportunities for success without it. So what I would say is approach it with a purpose. If you have a purpose in interning, then absolutely, and go after it with all you got. Be that professional, be that leader, and go after that. But it's not required for us, and I would say I would speak for a lot of firms on that.
We sometimes, suggest doing multiple internships too. Just like you said, to fill out a firm, fill out an industry, fill out, or city, if you're trying for somewhere new before you full-time think, I want to move to Atlanta from Americus, and then realize, oh no, that's not what I need. So,
Good question.
also, another reason is for money. If you're ready to make some adult money, just, see how that is. So this is from the presentation we did in Intermediate 1 today. This is just kind of what to expect your first year in public accounting. I just thought this was kind of interesting to kind of give you some insight to how you may think, feel, what you would experience from day 1 all the way up to your first year. So your first day, again, this is all going to be with D&T, but your first day, and that's actually your first 3 days, are orientation. So we do orientation for 3 days. It's where we do lunches with multiple staff, and we'll do dinner and activity, but throughout the day you're hearing from different speakers. You're kind of getting to know our technology, our software, getting used to our building, meeting people from our Atlanta office who come down as well, and you're just kind of getting a feel for the firm. And we also teach some like audit principles as well, so we do go through some, like we'll go over cash and fixed assets, things like that too, just to kind of give you a little jog and kind of show you what our work papers are looking like and how this is going to be. So then by your first week, you're getting your job assignments. You might be traveling out to the client site. A few weeks ago, first full week in January is when we had our spring orientation. And by the second week, we had new interns and new staff who were already traveling to client sites. So all of that in your first week, you're really just kind of getting the groove of things. You're figuring out who your team is. Maybe you're setting up, you're going to the client, whatever that may be. Your first month, now you're starting to really work through assignments. I said as a team, but also alone, meaning you're probably not asking as many more technical questions as you were to begin with, such as, where do I find this on our website or on our internal whatever. You're starting to really work through some concepts and work through work papers, and you're working with your team. And then by the end of your first year, it's a really cool feeling. It's also a very humbling experience to come back to the first engagement you ever worked on and work on it again and see the mistakes you made last year. It's very humbling, but it is kind of cool to kind of see, oh, I've really grown since last year. So you start to see a lot of your progress. You get evaluations. We give it annual evaluations, and there's an opportunity for promotion in that too. Depends on how well you did during the year, things like that. And that's typically our annual evaluations would be you with your partner that you worked with mostly, and you would talk back and forth with them and just kind of been like, I've seen growth in this area, and maybe we can do better in this area kind of thing, and here's a goal for the rest of the year kind of thing. So by the end of your first year, you're back working on the jobs that you first started, and you're really starting to get familiar with things, and you're really learning the groove of stuff. And I didn't put on here, but by your second year, now you're going through your second annual evaluation, and now you might be starting to get assigned staff under you that you're now in charge of. So it can be as quick as that. Maybe it's not as quick as that. It depends on how much workload you want to put on yourself. But you can move as almost as quick as you want in a way. Any thoughts on that?
No, I think that's great. You see how quickly this happens. Second week you're in the field. This is interns and full-time people. Mm-hmm. So our internships, That 10 weeks that they're with us, they're doing the same thing a full-time person would do. If you walked in the workroom and there was interns and full-time people in there, you couldn't tell the difference. But they're doing those same things. Which two slides are left?
The salary and then the
Okay.
post.
We'll do the hourglass on this one.
Okay.
So, another question. What is this? This one's easy. Hourglass. Simple, right? Some people say, well, it's running out of time. And I'm going to suggest to you it might look a little bit like the public accounting industry. There's a lot of folks entering the industry, coming in at the bottom, entry-level positions. There's a lot of folks like me that are starting to think about whether or not retire one day. And there is a compression in the middle. So see the hourglass? So this senior, as Taylor just described, maybe 3 years. So this is about 3 to 8 years. And we have a compression in the industry. So if you look at that, lots of things you can take away from that. So what's some observations about that?
Very competitive.
Very competitive?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of associates, and then all trying to get to either a senior or supervisor, so I feel like that's pretty competitive. All the associates, one minute.
Okay. Hold that thought for a moment. Don't let me forget that. What else?
A lot of opportunity for advancement,
Okay, so we got competitive and we got a lot of opportunities for advancement.
growth.
Both may be true answers. What else?
Gonna be the next partner.
Who's going to be the next partner? Where they going to come from, right?
Yeah, after 10 years.
Okay. So this is an hourglass. The way any professional service firm would desire this staffing to be, and this is true for the entire public accounting industry, and we're not, as Draffin and Tucker, we're not immune to it. The way any professional service firm would want this to look is not an hourglass, but a pyramid. So there's not a competition for one senior position or two senior positions. We need to build, the entire industry needs to build the senior position out. And so this line needs to be out here and over there where Taylor is. This manager line needs to be out here and over there at the other side of the screen. Because that's how organizations leverage that talent, leverage managing engagements, et cetera. That's how they build for the next generation. And where does that next partner come from? So, this is 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4 year, 5, 6 year, 7, 8, 9 years. Do you see how quickly this could happen? And the opportunity that is there in the industry for somebody sitting in intermediate 3 today, huge, huge opportunity. So firms, and I mean, I've been doing recruiting for over 20 years in our firm. And I tell people, and somebody may cringe at this, I don't worry about hiring too many people. We're not going to hire too many people. Might hire a wrong person, we'll work through that. We're not going to, if we're hiring the right people, we will not hire too many. We get this to a pyramid is really easy to grow. We just keep building on it. That makes sense? So, most folks in here, junior, maybe early senior. This is 4 years away. I know that seems like a lifetime. Promise you it's not. You could back me up, couldn't you? It's really quick. You can be here really quickly. These people, I mean, Taylor's already told you, they have people reporting to them, they're in charge in jobs, they're project leads, they're working directly with the clients, they're working directly with those controllers and CFOs, they're participating in those board presentations. They are project leads on these engagements. Supervisors, similar positions. Maybe they have more engagements going at once. Maybe they're working on engagements of more complexity. Managers are overseeing multiple engagements, hopefully staffed with seniors and supervisors as well, and then more complex engagements as well. I cannot overemphasize or overstate the opportunities that are there today.
Maybe you might want to repeat what you said earlier about in 30 years, you've never seen more demand for accounting.
I have not. So I've told people, I've been doing recruiting, like I said, for over 20 years, and keep saying there's never a better time to enter the accounting industry. I mean, that is, might have been wrong in the past, but I'm not wrong now. That is so true, because this is what's happening. Accounting firms, and this is the case with a lot of businesses, their growth is constrained by resources. Just need good people, willing to engage themselves, willing to learn, willing to drive towards success, willing to continuously improve. We have, I wouldn't do recruiting if I wasn't confident of this, we have the infrastructure for everybody that joins our firm to be successful. Now, they got to apply themselves, they got to engage, they got to come with that willingness to learn and that drive, all those things, but that infrastructure is there. We want everybody climbing this ladder. We don't benefit from holding somebody back. We want everybody being successful. Because we'll just keep building this thing out. And that's the way the industry works. That's the way successful public accounting firms work. That's ones that are reaching their next generation's work. A lot of what's happened while those firms, those 85% didn't make it past the first generation, is because they couldn't get anybody to hear. They couldn't push anybody through that compression. That was a little bit of a rant I went on. Thoughts, comments?
Or pyramid, why is it built like an hourglass right now? The way the graph is, or is it what we want it to be as a pyramid?
We want it to be a pyramid. This is where we're at now. So, public accounting, you heard me say 1 to 2 years, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 years. These people are owners in businesses. Anybody want to own their own business? Anybody think 10 years would be a pretty short time to own your own successful business?
75-year-old business.
To own a 75-year-old business? Unfortunately, sounds like nobody in this room, but unfortunately, some people think 10 years is too long. I know, right?
That's crazy, because a lot of jobs, you don't even advance this fast.
No.
You can be there for 25 years, and they're still in the same position they were when they first got there.
Spinning for them, telling them.
It's crazy.
It is.
She's like, I was there for 35 years. I'm like, you've been doing this for 35 years.
Right.
And she wanted to advance and never had the opportunity.
Right.
And it's sad to see that.
Absolutely.
And now she's close to retirement.
So there's a statistic out there that people coming out of school, I forget if it's high school or college, but basically will have 17 jobs in their career. 17. So they're jumping off this. There's more than one job on this schedule. There's more than one job on this line. How many of those jobs can be at Draffin Tucker? You're telling me, well, you're with an employer working in a different area now than you've been working for 16 years?
Right.
Just ask. All you have to do is ask.
Ask.
You don't like what you're currently doing.
And most times, if your boss really, if they really like you, they see that you're worth more. That was my position. They were like, Ricky, you're worth more than this. So we're gonna, so sometimes they'll push you even if you're scared. So that's where I got my drive from my employer saying, hey, we're just gonna keep, going up the ladder because you're capable of more.
We've definitely had staff in the past that have maybe they started out in tax, maybe they were hired as a tax professional, and for whatever reason they just really didn't like what they were doing. Well, as long as they came and said something, we see the issue of I'm not happy, nothing's probably going to change, so I'll just quit. But with these individuals, they've, the ones that have actually come and said something to Jeff or whoever else their manager might be, and just be like, I'm really not enjoying this. Half the time the answer is, okay, let's finish what we're doing, and then let's see where we can move you and make you happy. Because we, again, like you said, we want you to retire from DNT. So I know that we've had some people start an audit and just straight out of school, you don't know what you want to do. You might want to do, you think you want to do one thing and you probably want to do the other thing. And just mentioning it, being like, I'm really not enjoying what I'm doing. Can we find something else for me to do? And just, we have enough departments and enough industries that we work within to move people around to just see what we can do.
I've seen folks move into financial planning, still within a accounting firm,
Mm-hmm.
change industries,
Mm-hmm.
go from consulting to business audits.
Advisory.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a book, Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's this thick, not suggesting go read it. He suggests that everything that a business does, they do for one of three reasons. They do it because they make money at it, that it's profitable for them. They do it because they have a competitive advantage at it, so they're better than anybody else. Or they do it because they're passionate about it. They love to do it. This applies to public accounting firms, this applies to physicians, this applies to somebody having a lemonade stand in their front yard. They're doing it, maybe they're doing it to make money, maybe they're doing it because they got better lemonade than anybody else, or maybe they just love seeing people drink their lemonade. Make sense? So, you think we got a complete list? Is there other buckets, or is this enough? We either do it because we make money, we got a competitive advantage, or we just love doing it. Jim Collins suggests that these circles look something like this. So we do it because we make money, we do it because we're a competitive advantage, we're doing it because we're passionate. He calls that area the sweet spot. Draffin and Tucker, we believe we know how to be successful and profitable. We believe we have competitive advantages. We've been doing this 75 years. We've developed competitive advantages. We need people doing what they're passionate about. If somebody was applying themselves, as Ricky said, somebody's applying themselves, they're willing to learn, they want to be successful, and they come and they say what Taylor said, and it's something that can fit in what we're doing, why in the world would we not slide them to do something they can be passionate about and figure out how to align those things? So accounting's not all tax, go back to the myths, it's not all introverts, it's not all sitting behind one desk. I mean, we're here today. Taylor and I, this is our fourth class, we ain't tested debit or credit all day long. So, you know, find what you're passionate about. And be honest about it. Now, apply yourself, work hard. None of this is easy. Nobody's giving any of this to you, but there's infrastructures out there built for you to be successful. Thoughts, comments? Craziest thing you ever heard?
Okay. Well, this was the other presentation I'd taken it out of, but by now y'all know kind of what the education requirements are to get to your career in accounting. So of course your diploma, you need your BBA, and then you don't necessarily need a MAC or an MBA. However, if you do plan to take the CPA exam and get your license, there are credit hour requirements. And depending on your situation, you talk with your counselor, your advisor, about it to kind of see where you stand. You might require either just a few extra classes during your undergrad, or you might find it more beneficial to do a MAC or an MBA. I'm sure everybody knows the education or all the other requirements for the CPA license, but we were just going to go over them again. So you need a total of 150 semester hours. Your bachelor gets you to 120, and then overall you need 30 hours in upper level accounting, and upper level just means above introductory. And then you need 24 overall in business related subjects. So your bachelor should get you, I believe, the 24 and most of the 30. A lot of times those people are missing some of the upper level accounting classes to qualify. I know I did a MAC just so that I could get all of these covered. Also, masters can also help prepare you better for the CPA as well. For example, if you do an MBA instead of a MAC, maybe you have like a master's econ class or something like that. The CPA exam has a business economics portion or business environment portion of the exam that does touch on like some management classes and some econ and stats and stuff like that too. So something like it just could help you overall in passing the exam. And then does everybody know the layout of the exam, kind of how it works? Okay, so then you have your 4 sections, it is changing and all that. So these are your requirements, so just keep them in the back of your mind. There is the NASBA website that we listed at the bottom, but if you just go to NASBA.org, you can find, kind of see if your classes qualify or where you kind of stand in your ratings. Any questions about CPA license or requirements? Yeah.
What's a MAC?
Masters of Accounting. So not all schools, I know that there's just MBA here, but there are some MAC online programs or in-person programs as well. Those are just going to be, for MAC, I don't think I had any other business classes, just accounting. So it's just like corporate tax, things like that. So just a different setup, but you can easily get there with the MBA. And we do also have employees that only have bachelor's degrees that were able to get their CPA. By just having extra classes somehow. So last thing we are going to touch on is just to show you some salary medians, just so you can kind of get a feel. The staff accountant, senior, and manager, those are going to be more of your public accounting roles, and then your controller and CFO, of course. Like I said, these are your private industry. This is probably about 2 years old, so we could update it. I think everything could probably go, I can't tell you like in centimeter or whatever, but I know staff is definitely above 60 now, so probably I'll inch up a little bit. I did want, we mentioned about how fast you can move up on that hourglass slide. You did mention earlier today, I'd like you to kind of go over again the difference between private and public compensation, the scale.
So these are public, these are private. Think in any one organization, there's one controller and there's one CFO. So we talked about competition earlier. If we took compensation over time, years of experience, industry, so you go to work for ABC company, industry is going to start here. With respect to that, entry level in public accounting is going to start here. So day one, there's a differential with industry. They may not have the training, the robust training programs, all that infrastructure, but they typically start a little higher. Industry compensation, that wasn't fair. Industry compensation goes somewhat like this. You touched on that earlier, doing the same position. Public accounting compensation goes more like that. So if we go back to the slide that Jake asked earlier, why were those people, why is that compression, why aren't those people there? Some people are looking here and are saying, I can make more money right now. I'm not willing to invest this for this, just on a time scale. This is probably, I'm going to say 3 to 4 years where those cross and continue on. This, become an owner of a business, I mean, there's no end to that. End of what you want it to be. This, if you're waiting to be the controller, there's one controller at that organization you're at. So you're waiting on that person to leave, or either you're leaving, going somewhere else. You're waiting to be the CFO, there's one. You're waiting on that person to leave or go somewhere else. Go back to the pyramid, this keeps happening in public accounting.
We've had multiple people that have typically, that was something that was mentioned earlier today, is that when we do lose staff, it is usually about the 2 to 3 year mark, and we're not losing them to other CPA firms, we're losing them to industry, or we're losing them to clients where they go work for them. But in last year, because it's 23 now, last year we had, I think, 3 staff leave and come right back because they went industry or they went private, realized that the hours were crazy and not worth the, whatever maybe small increase that they got. And then they were like, never mind, we're coming right on back. So that's just kind of, I think it's always the grass is always greener type situation, and just, but like I said, they come right back.
One was back within about 2 months,
Yeah.
one within about 4.
But then like we had open arms, so we were like, well, come on.
And
That's,
we seldom have somebody leave our firm and go to another public accounting firm. They do, there's typically something else associated with that, a spouse is being transferred or something, and they're relocating.
that's one part about professionalism too. If we were to have something about just that, or not leadership professionalism altogether, is about how important it's not to burn bridges if you were to exit a company. Because for that exact example, those 3 individuals left and came back in the same year, and obviously D&T had open arms because there wasn't a bridge burned kind of thing. So that's just like going forward in your life in general, no matter what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, all we have left are just your opportunities. I think dual enrollment, well, this is that other presentation, but obviously dual enrollment doesn't apply to y'all anymore. But taking advantage of your summer classes to try to, so that you can, move forward as quickly as you want, try to get some stuff out from under you. Summer leadership programs, y'all might be a little far from that, but also you might not be. Typically that's for sophomores and juniors to attend. I know Bryce attended our summer leadership last year, so it's a 2-day, 2-night kind of event in Albany. We hosted in Albany, or our Albany office. We do some community outreach, some charity work, we do some fun dinners. We do a lot of presentations. We do a panel, things like that. I'll show y'all where to apply for that on our website in just a minute. Our internships were completely full for the summer 2023 interns. However, fall of 23 and then also spring 24, in the summer of 24, we're all open, but just this summer we're full, which is awesome. And then also taking advantage of career fairs. So I know that we'll have one, I don't remember the date, but there's one at GSW in the near future, and I'll be here for that. Come by and say hey to us, but just attend as many career fairs that you can, well, business ones anyways, that you can, just to kind of get out there and speak to people, get to know people, shake some hands, and beef up your resumes too. Beef up, I mean, just make sure they look nice. Spell check, please, spell check, that kind of stuff. Maybe get one of the professors to look over for you. Yes, somebody else, fresh eyes. And that's kind of what y'all need to do going forward as of right now. So let me show y'all real quick.
So, comments, questions while she's pulling that up?
Is there a preference between like Masters of Accounting or Masters of Business Administration?
So what typically happens, if somebody just enters their undergrad and they know they want to be in accounting, and they start through that, they're going to wind up with 120 hours and get a little more if they got dual enrollment. So to get to the 150, most people are taking a master's. The ones that, and they're looking at their accounting classes and the upper level accounting. If you take the Masters of Accountancy, you'll be assured of having that. If you take the MBA, you probably need to bring some electives in there. So you kind of wind up at the same place. The Masters of Accountancy is obviously more focused in accountancy. We see a lot of folks with Masters of Accountancy coming in. At the same time, there are people that may change majors, maybe they had some AP credits, dual enrollment, whatever. Maybe they finished their undergrad with 130, 135 hours, and they just go take an additional 15 or 20 hours. Don't necessarily pursue a whole master's degree of either one. So really all kinds. For licensure purpose, it's the 150 hours, not a master's of either one, but 150 hours. Most accounting firms are going to say, well, master's of accountancy, they just know they want to do that since they were 2 years old, apparently. But either one gets you what you need. What else? What did we talk about y'all want to talk about?
What's in intermediate 3? Yeah, I was gonna say, what's
Yeah,
intermediate 3?
I was gonna ask y'all about the topics that we've been covering in the intermediate 3. We've only had like 3 classes, but we're in a chapter where we're in common stock, preferred stock, issuing stock, small stock dividends versus large stock dividends, prior period adjustments. Can you, I mean, I said some of these type entries I have never made, small stock dividend before, but out of your hospitals, how many of them are public and issue stock, and can you speak to that?
So we don't do any public company work in the sense of registered, so SEC, we don't do any of those publicly traded. But we do some that are for-profit. Those may be formed as a LLC, may be formed as a S Corp, may be formed as a C Corp. But probably out of 100-ish hospitals, probably at any time we've got 1 or 2 of those is all. So the vast majority of our hospitals is not-for-profits. So most of them are organized as a 501c3 under the IRS regulations, and that's how they're attaining their tax exempt status. So most of the accounting we do is, by definition, not-for-profit accounting, but it's not fund accounting, so it's not enterprise accounting and agency funds and that kind of stuff. It's more what we call quasi-business, but it's not for profit reporting, but a hospital's business. So it's not for-profit accounting in the sense of United Way or a foundation or something like that. Prior period adjustments, those happen. Hopefully they're not on statements that we issued, but certainly when we do pick up work from time to time and pick up a new client, often that comes along when it was a firm that was doing one hospital and just didn't realize the complexities of what was going on in that industry, and had some financials that might have been materially misstated and needed a prior period adjustment.
I think some standards too might require a prior period adjustment.
Right.
There's a new lease standard out right now for financing and operating leases that has been a booger and has been like hanging over everybody's head since 2020 because COVID kept pushing it back and back. But that has caused some prior period adjustments as well.
Cumulative effect.
Mm-hmm. It's not a negative one like how you were saying,
Right.
a material misstatement, but it's just, it now has to be prior period adjustment. Have not touched stock at all.
Show them the summer leadership.
Sure. So if you just go to our website, draffin-tucker.com, and then you go all the way over here to careers, and then you see that drop down. We have any other information you might want, but you have your summer leadership. Our summer leadership program is called Thrive. You can scroll down and see pictures from prior ones, and then any kind of info on that and kind of description. And it's June 8th and 9th. We would have you come to Albany on the 7th. The night of the 7th, we'd have a welcome orientation, dinner, meet a few staff, that kind of stuff. So you would just click apply here or apply now, and then this is just short little application, and you would upload your resume on here as well. And that'll go to our HR manager, and she will start gathering all of the, from there on, she or myself will contact you about anything else. We just mainly do an application to control the number of people, of course, but then also to make sure that, we don't have a freshman that's in their first semester applying, because it's not going to be beneficial for them. So that's why we kind of look through resumes, is kind of to see where you're at in school. Maybe you're a senior wanting to do it, and we're like, well, no, why don't you come for an office visit instead? Maybe you're interested in an internship or something. So it's not super critical. That's just, I wanted to mention that. But that's how you apply for summer leadership. And both of our contact, we have our cards out here, but both of our contact, if you go under our people, we have a tab that shows all of our employees that has our contact info on there as well. Anything else from today overall?
Well, if not, we certainly appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate your interest in the conversation, the engagement. Just encourage you, be open-minded about the opportunities that are out there. You are positioning yourself for a fantastic career, and just apply yourself, engage, and move forward.
And don't burn bridges.
All those things that we talked about, hold yourself to those higher standards. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have a question about the partners. I know that it takes about 10 years to become one. often does the partner switch in your company?
How often does what?
Like, how often do you guys get new partners, and is that kind of like an adjustment period between different partners and how they run their business?
So, I'm gonna get the answer, but it's gonna sound like I'm not to start with. So, any business, if they were gonna bring a partner in, they're gonna have a reason to do that. So maybe somebody is looking to retire, and they need a replacement as part of a succession plan. Maybe somebody has a unique skill, and it's part of expanding the business. Maybe the business has grown, and there's too much business for the existing owners to handle, so we need an additional partner. Maybe the firm is positioning themselves for growth and adding that capacity. So there can be lots of reasons. Coming into a partnership is done by vote. So it requires a vote of the existing partners. In most firms, in our firm, it requires a supermajority vote, not just a simple majority. So admitting a partner is an incredibly important thing. How often? Just this past January, so 2 weeks ago, I guess the announcement's actually being made today on social media. We admitted a partner. He started with us probably, I'm going to say 11-ish years ago, maybe 12 years ago. We also have what we refer to as a partner in training program. It's a 2-year program where they are progressing towards admission. It's not definitive, there's still another vote. But we actually had 2 people that just entered that partner in training program this past January for scheduled admission January 1, 2025. So firms kind of go through those cycles, but they're looking at the need or what is the reason for admitting another partner. I go back to my lemonade stand. If you're running a lemonade stand, why would you bring another partner in? Maybe you want to take some days off and you want somebody to take up that capacity. Maybe they got a better source for lemons than you do. But I mean, what's the purpose for bringing those partners in?
Is your firm a partner buy-ins?
Yes. So it's partners or owners, so they contribute capital.
The managing partner also elected, and if so, how did you maintain this status by these many years?
So our managing partner in our firm is elected every 3 years. In the 75 years that our firm has been in existence, I'm the 4th managing partner. So one of our values is that we take a long-term approach to things. That's one of those tangible instances. So elected every 3 years, but most past once you got this past Mr. Draffin, the next 2 were 21 years. I'm continuing this role until I retire, that's about where I'll be, 23 or 4 years. So it's an election to get in, it's an election to be reelected, but it's a vote of the partners.
What do you think makes you a good managing partner?
I wish some of my partners were here to answer that. I would hope it's some of those things that we talked about earlier, treating people with respect, creativity, being open-minded, treating people fairly, those things. I mean, of course, there's, the managing partner along with, we have an executive committee as well, which the managing partner is an ex officio member and serves on. But, the managing partner along with the executive committee, I mean, they're responsible for the governance of the firm. And, I mean, there are certain things that are approved by the partner, the partnership, the other partners. But, vision, strategy, more day-to-day decisions are made either by the managing partner or the managing partner in conjunction with the executive committee. Just takes, it's too cumbersome to get everybody together for every decision. So we need, the managing partner and the executive committee need direction from the overall group and a plan, strategic plan, if you will. But then the managing partner and executive committee are responsible for execution of that.
What does your day look like? Is it full of meetings with have to work together?
So my day personally, my day is a lot of meetings. I wish my everyday was doing what I'm doing today. Was out talking about the opportunities that are available in our firm and really in the industry, but in our firm. Some of my days in the office are talking about the opportunities that are available. Some of them are like Taylor said, hey, I want to do something else. what can we do? I'm not sure, let's see what we can figure out. Some of it is administrative. I mean, the responsible for, overall, just day-to-day management of the firm, oversight of administrative personnel, responsible for financial statements of the firm, responsible for, the bills getting paid, is the payroll getting run. I mean, just some of those day-to-day things. But a lot of meetings. I have an outstanding offer all the time. I will meet with anybody in our firm anytime they want to meet. And some people have asked for standing monthly meetings. I meet with them every month. Some people just stop by, knock on the door. Some people send me an email saying, can we get together? And I'm committed, and I hope I do well at this, but to honor each one of those requests.
I will say it does speak to kind of the culture of the firm in general. I know every firm's going to say they have an open door policy because that, along with work-life balance, are buzzwords. But as far as, I guess, comfortability, and I don't know, maybe it's because Jeff and I have done this quite a bit, but I am the queen of just dropping by his door, and that his door is always open unless he's on the phone. But just dropping by, like the other day I told him how much I liked his curtains, and we just talked about his curtains for a minute, and then the next time I wanted to ask about doing a firm outing or something like that. So it is an open door, and I feel like I can do that with any partner, manager, whoever. And he doesn't like it, but I call him the big boss because, I mean, at the end of the day, he is like the big boss overall. And how many firms can you talk, how many firms or even companies can you just drop by the big boss's door and just tell him how much you like his curtains and where did he get the fabric? Kind of thing, So anyways, that does really speak for the firm.